Where are you throwing? Throw one out, throw it. Throw it more up here. Today? No, this one's fine. Okay. We're good. I did that on purpose.
Ready?
Yeah. Today, let's smoke salsa. Well, this recipe is something I've been making for about 10 years. It finally just occurred to me that we should do a video on it because over the holidays, I posted my Instagram stories that we were making it, and I got a ton of questions about what's the recipe. So here we are. It is a dead winter in Texas, believe it or not. Doesn't really feel like it. It's in the 80s today, but salsa is like pure Texan. You know, it's on the dinner table for every single meal. Basically, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, there's something you can do with it. It's actually one of the few healthy things we actually make here at the Meat Church. But we jar this stuff up and we eat on it all the time and love to give it as gifts and things like that. In fact, I gave this as Christmas gifts this year, which was pretty cool. But the thing about salsa is there's not just one way to make it. There's so many different ways, and we make it a lot of different ways. But this recipe is really good, and we know you will love it. We're gonna be real basic with a Roma tomato. You can change out the tomatoes, you can put tomatillos in it. We're using jalapeños, you can use hotter peppers if you want. We're putting onions and garlic in it because we love those flavors, and then we're gonna season it very simply. So let's get started and then kind of talk about options along the way. So the recipe's 25 kind of medium-sized Roma tomatoes, 2 medium white onions, and that's, again, change it up based on your preference. I use 1 whole head of garlic, and then I would use 10 to 20 jalapeños in my recipe. I use 10. That's kind of a medium. I don't like super hot stuff, and I think this is a perfect flavor. We're gonna smoke it. It's not gonna be, overpowering or anything like that. If you want it hotter, you can either add more jalapeños or you can change the pepper. In the end, we're gonna put some cilantro and a little bit of lime juice to brighten it up. And we're gonna season it with some salt and a little bit of stuff I'll tell you about here in a little bit. And it's super, super good. We're just gonna eat it with chips and it's gonna be awesome. So let's get into this. By the way, you could do this in your oven, not nearly as fun. You also don't have to smoke or roast it at all. You could do this from raw. I see people do it from canned vegetables. I like to use fresh. So here we go. I'm gonna cut up 25 tomatoes. All I'm going to do is cut the end off and simply cut these in half, just like this. I'm gonna do this whole bowl and then jump into the other vegetables. Next, let's quarter 2 onions. A lot of latitude here. I like white in this. You can certainly use yellow, or a lot of people use red. Ten medium-sized jalapeños. Now, I like the 10. I'm not gonna de-seed them or anything like that. Cut the end off, cut them in half. That simple. If you're a little nervous about the heat level, start with 7, but this isn't too hot. Just enough to let you know it's there. 1 head of garlic. Sometimes I go with 2. I'm just gonna cut the end off of it here. We're gonna wrap this up in foil as we cook it. All right, so let's make a little room here. So I'm gonna cook this on a rack, honestly, for 2 reasons. 1, for ease, so you don't have to get in and out of your smoker 95 times with all these random pieces. And also, I just like something that's, perforated or open like this so that you can get smoke all over it. I've done this in a pan as well. It doesn't get as much smoke that way, but you can do this in a pan if you want. When I've made salsa with some other people with well-known barbecue joints in Texas, they've done it in a pan. Some people like to put liquid in it. I'm gonna go super simple here. We're simply going to just put these vegetables all over these racks. I'm gonna mix this stuff up in here, and then we're gonna put it in the smoker. All right, we've got all our vegetables laid out on these 3 racks, except the garlic. So I like to wrap this up in foil, and here's why. This will get plenty of smoke, but in the time that it takes to smoke these vegetables, the garlic won't be tender enough to just squeeze out, so I just do that with it right there. Let's talk about cooking it, and this is really important. So I've made smoked salsa on all sorts of types of smokers. Today we're using a Traeger Timberline with hickory pellets. Wood is an ingredient. So vegetables are very sensitive to smoke, just like fish would be, or poultry to a lesser degree. So I want to go a little bit on the lighter side. So I'm going hickory wood on this. So I've done this in an offset before. If I'm ever trying to make it really smoky, then I'll smoke this in my offset, and I might even close the stack at one point. So I made this back in the fall for my buddies at the Dallas Bourbon Club. And you know, there's a lot of bourbon, a lot of cigars at this event that I was cooking, and so I wanted to make it really smoky. So I went post oak and an offset. But the way we're gonna cook this today, my family loves it. So I think this is kind of like just the right amount of smoke, but obviously you can adjust that. If you want more smoky, go heavier wood. Less smoky, you can go an even lighter wood on your pellet grill, but this works great in here. By the way, this recipe makes 7 jars. A lot of people will say, man, that's a lot of tomatoes. Well, if I'm gonna take the time to smoke all this veg for salsa, I want it to be worth my while. If you don't want this much, let me teach you a magic trick. Divide it by 2. It's that easy. So we're cooking 225 degrees super smoke for 2 hours. Little latitude on that. You know, if you're in a big old offset, you might go a little bit less. You're just trying to put the appropriate amount of smoke on it that you want and not cook it too far to where these vegetables wither. Especially the jalapeños will go first. So that's just a good simple number. 225 super smoke for 2 hours. So I'm gonna load up the grill. So pretty. Don't forget the garlic. There we go. I'm gonna let that roll for 2 hours. You don't have to do a thing. We'll be back to blend it all up, season it, and taste test it. Okay guys, it's been right at 2 hours. It hasn't been real difficult to maintain this temperature with the pellet grill, thank God. Some people call it an easy bake oven. I call it delicious food. There we go. Let me lay these out so you guys can see these. That's warm. So, all right, let's take a look at these. You can see they're like, so you can see this is, you know, kind of withering just a little bit. It's got nice smoke on it, but nothing too crazy. And you can see that the peppers haven't shriveled up to nothing. You'll know when you cook these too far because they'll be nice and crispy, basically. So this is, you know, a pretty big batch, like I said earlier. I'm using a Vitamix to mix everything up, and I have to do it in 2 batches just based on the size. So at this point, I just eyeball it. So I'm gonna fill this container up with about half of the vegetables, plus I'm going to bring in a bunch of cilantro. I'll split that up as well. I'll split the garlic up, and then let's talk about our seasonings. This amount takes about 6 tablespoons of salt. I'm gonna go a little more complex. I'm using Meat Church seasoned salt. If you know, you know about this stuff. It's kind of like a more complex Lowry's, I guess. It sits on our dinner table and enhances the flavor of all dishes. I'm going 3 tablespoons of that, and I split it with 3 tablespoons of MSG. Say the same thing about MSG, if you know, you know. It got a bad rap back in the 80s, but all of my chef colleagues, everybody in competition barbecue, everybody uses MSG. No confirmed linkage to any health issues, but if you don't like it, skip it, just use salt. But this is delicious flavor enhancer. So I'm gonna split those 2 amongst this. So I'm just gonna eyeball, you know, kind of throwing in about half of this. My dog is pissed that we're making salsa and she can't eat it. All right, that feels like about half. I'm gonna go ahead and put about half of these seasonings in. Maybe a little more. And this roasted garlic's really nice. You can see after 2 hours, you can grab a clove here and you can simply just squeeze it right out. I'm also going to bring in half a lime. This will help brighten it up as well. And that's it, and then we're gonna blend it up. So when I mix this together, I just like to pulse it a bunch. I don't like to just go full on blend, and just pulse it until it's the consistency that you want. We have a pico recipe on Meat Church. We actually gut the romas and just cut it up into nice big pieces. This, on the other hand, has a different consistency. So we're gonna just pulse it down until it's how we like it. Looks pretty good. Looks really good, actually. Maybe a little chunky, but I like to err on the side of a little chunky, to be honest with you. I'm gonna mix it in this bowl so that I can combine all of it together after I do this next batch. Man, that smells so fresh, so good. So good, such a good snack. I used to say it was a summertime thing, but we eat it all the time. All right, let's mix this up. So this is obviously warm right now. I'm gonna go put it in the fridge. My favorite is to make this during the day and then put it in the fridge overnight, let those flavors really come together. I mean, you know, wouldn't be mad if you ate it warm, but here's the deal. I need to make some margaritas, so I'm taking this to the fridge. I'll be back in a minute. Well, I'm back with my margaritas, and let me tell you, these are gonna be awesome. Another recipe on meatchurch.com, also YouTube video on it. This is my spicy margarita. It's 4 parts tequila. You guys know I love Dos Primos Blanco. It's 2 parts fresh lime juice, 1 part agave, 1 part water, rimmed with holy voodoo. There are a bunch of jalapeños in it. It's poured over that. It's awesome. But I've made 2, and I can't drink 2, so I gotta bring in a friend. All right.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Dane Weaver, everybody. Dane's Craft Barbecue, Texas Monthly Top 50 barbecue joint. So Dane has been here today shooting another video with us, a little foreshadow to next week. But he makes some of the most amazing sausage in the world. And he came to teach us how to make a killer sausage. That will be next week's video. So I thought, man, you want to stick around and try some smoked salsa and maybe some margaritas. A little reward after a big day of shooting.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh. Man, I ain't mad at it. That's good.
Can't say that's trademarked.
Let's try this. So it's a smoked salsa, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Everything's smoked at the Meat Church.
That's really good. I'm getting a lot of that cilantro right off the bat, but then it kind of finishing a lot smokier. Really nice and even.
What do you think about the level of smoke?
It's good.
Level of smoke, level of heat. I'm curious your honest opinion.
Nothing's overpowering. I mean, I love it. I mean, it perfectly complements a brisket taco. I mean, it gives you the right amount of smoke flavor that every Texan's gonna need in their life.
So, one thing I didn't mention when we came to seasoning it, I like the level of salt. You know, you saw we did, I say it's 6 tablespoons of salt. We did half Meat Church seasoned salt, and we did half MSG. I think it's a good level. If you don't like your levels, you can add to it. Always go less in the beginning if you're unsure, because you can always add to it. But once you've made something too salty, there's no going back unless you add more vegetables.
No, I love it, and I love the heat level too. It's not too spicy, like you said. I think it's that perfect balance. And yeah, if you really want something spicy, I'd add a little more. You know?
Yeah, I feel like if you get 10 normal size jalapenos, not 10 gigantic ones, it's a good heat level. If you go huge ones or more jalapenos, it's gonna be hot. Get it on the brisket taco.
Yeah.
Wow, that's my jam. HEB flour tortillas made this morning.
Man, I ain't mad at it.
Batting
delicious.
1,000. Batting 1,000. Well, I hope you guys make this. It's super duper easy. I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we also have a pico de gallo recipe on meatchurch.com that is a little different consistency, but also very good, very similar. So if you guys like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. We've got weekly how-to videos. And again, don't forget to come back next week and check out this man's amazing Holy Voodoo jalapeno cheddar sausage, and go see him in Fort Worth at Dane's Craft Barbecue. See y'all next time. Hey guys, well, it's the next day after our video shoot, and we're gonna start experimenting with a little talk the next day where there's less pressure than video day shoot. This will give us a chance to jump in and add any notes we want, or if we need to make any corrections, or frankly, just kind of look back and see what we thought about the video. And as we go forward with these, we're actually gonna start doing giveaways in this portion. So if you stick around, there'll be some bonus material for you. But as far as the recipe goes, I loved it. And the reason I say that is we ate this salsa last night for dinner after the shoot. Obviously it was jarred up and in the fridge, and it's kind of like chili to me. Like, for some reason it tastes better the next day. But in this case, I wouldn't have actually changed much about what I did. As I put all those jalapenos in, I feel like it's gonna be hot, but it's really not. But like I said in the shoot, if you're nervous, then start less, because you can always increase the heat level as you go. And I'm a guy that can't handle hot. Like, I don't ever order hot wings. I'm like a medium kind of guy, and this works for me and my family, so I dig it. The only clarification I wanted to make really was, you guys saw that I used a little bit of MSG, and it occurred to me, people might not know where to get that or what is that, but in the grocery store, Accent is 100% MSG, so this is cheap and you can get that. Or you can just use salt. It's super duper simple. The only other thing I'll cover is please subscribe. I know we talk about that a lot, but I want to make a point. I don't consider myself a traditional YouTuber. I'm the founder and CEO of Meat Church, and I spend my time running our company, developing new products, cooking my butt off, and sharing my passion for cooking to teach you and inspire you how to cook. We don't generally take sponsorships for videos like YouTubers do. We've only ever done it one time. Not to say that we won't do it ever, but these videos come out of my pocket, but it's not about that. It's about my passion. I do this because I enjoy teaching. That's why I do it. So if you subscribe, that helps us to continue to do these on a weekly basis. So thanks for watching this. Y'all gotta make this. See y'all next week.